the OTCs just completely cooled off. NASDAQ stocks started to get hot. It was kind of easy for me to make money on NASDAQ. You know, I had a bunch of confidence and I felt like I knew what I was doing, so I just started trading NASDAQs. And I made, I think, 10 grand in March.
Lead trainer with StocksToTrade, Tim Bowen here, back with you, going over what I call the trader spotlight. You know, it's funny, one of those things I kind of look back to when I was younger, and I wish I had, you know, something like YouTube and something like these interviews when I was wanting to learn trading. I mean, I've been interested in trading since literally the 4th grade, but I didn't have the internet back then. Certainly didn't have YouTube when I was in my early 20s or 30s, and I think it's really awesome that we have these resources to learn from a lot of these upcoming traders, because that's probably what you are. You're somebody that's Googled how to trade or Googled penny stocks, and you've come across our channel. And today is one of my favorite young traders out there. Is names is Jack, and he is one of the best, hardest working guys out there, and that's why I'd like to bring to you today is that work ethic and that long mindset that he has. So welcome back, man. Nice to see you again. And we'd just kind of like to start with your history. You know, I remember you started out, so you're working as a valet, you know, that kind of grinding job, you know, that wasn't, I'm sure wasn't your dream. So what drew you to stocks? Kind of what got it all started? Where did you begin? I guess number one, what made you pick stock trading, and where was kind of the journey from there?
So when I graduated high school, I knew that college wasn't really an option for me. So my first go-to was firefighting, because the hours of a firefighter are 24 on, 72 off.
Nice, okay.
And I knew that on the side, my dad, you know, he's into real estate.
Plus you get to jump on that pole and slide down.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I thought it'd be cool, and I would have a bunch of time off, so I could do real estate, something on the side, some kind of investing, entrepreneurial type mindset, you know. And I was doing my firefighting stuff, and my goal was to save a bunch of money firefighting and then invest into real estate and be able to retire and have real estate. And so that was originally my goal, but I got my EMT, and then I realized that I really didn't like firefighting that much, and I had 10K, I knew I couldn't invest in real estate, so I wanted to invest in some stocks. So my 2017 goal was to, you know, let me pick a stock, let me invest in it, let me do some research. So I was opening up a Robinhood account.
Okay.
And I went to the gym that day, like, I don't know, January 3rd or 4th or something, and I ran into an old friend. You know, he's home from college on, you know, winter break, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna invest in some stocks, you know, valet's going good, haven't seen him in a while, and he was like, me too, yeah. I'm gonna day trade penny stocks. I think I'm gonna drop out of college and
interesting, okay.
and day trade. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like, oh, what is this side of it? So he said Tim Sykes, and went home, Googled Tim Sykes, and I saw just insane amount of volatility in these stocks. I saw these stocks going from 2 to 4, and I was like, why am I gonna buy, you know, a $50 stock with, you know, 10 grand or 5 grand or however much I was gonna decide to put in, when I could take a smaller position
and hope to make, you know, a couple $100.
Yeah, over the course of so long, when the stocks were going from 2 to 4 in, you know, a day. And if I said, if I can capture 20% of that on, you know, 2 grand or something, you know, $400, and that's a paycheck.
Yep.
Like, that's a good amount of money to me. And I had went home, and from there I went to his house, and he would show me, like, what's a market order, what's a limit order. So
nice, okay.
He got my gears rolling a little bit. I traded with him. You know, I watched him trade. I opened a Thinkorswim account, you know, I put $7,500 into it, canceled all the Robinhood stuff, luckily, and I just kind of watched him trade, and by the end of the month, I was like, 100% this is it, like mom and dad. I saw ETRM go from 4 to 20, and I witnessed one, and I was like, Mom, Dad, this is it. So they were like, all right, we'll split the challenge with you.
Oh, really? Okay. Again, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yep. So they split the challenge with me, and from that point on, I basically just became a full addict of just studying and learning, and just dug through everything. Started with the DVDs, went through every single DVD, and then got a little more advanced. I would watch all the video lessons, but then, you know, I got advanced. I started watching like Tim Grittani stuff because that seemed the most appealing to me because, you know, Tim Grittani, he made the most money, you know, so that's kind of who I want to learn from. And then at the end of 2018, I was, you know, I had made a bunch more money doing the valet. I probably had 20 grand at this time, and I knew that I had to get over the PDT, so how could I make another 10 grand before 2018? So me and my friend, we rented a mall kiosk and we ordered a bunch of bamboo pillows, bamboo sheets from China, and we sold them at a mall kiosk.
Nice.
Through November.
I love the hustle, man.
Through November and December. And, I was working, I don't know how many hours a day. I mean, you would be there from 6 a.m. to 9 at night, every single day for 2 months straight. And through that time, I would just be sitting there waiting for a customer to come up and, do them the sales pitch and sell them the sheets and everything. And through that time, it was when the stock started going crazy in 2017, late 2017, and I saw Michael Hudson. He was, short selling all these stocks on the green to red move, and that setup made a lot of sense to me, and I knew that was one of Grittani's favorite setups. So I was like, all right, I'm going to open up a center point account. I'm going to, short sell in 2018. So I basically just started short selling. Come 2018, finished off the mall kiosk, and from there it was just, make 500, lose 200, and I was, consistently profiting. And I made $2,000 my first month trading. I was very prepared. I'd studied for an entire year. So the next month came, I made 1,000, and then it just kind of was small gains throughout the months. And April came, made $4,000. So that was my best month. And then I kind of, wanted to chase that 10,000 month.
Sure.
And I was doing all right, but I felt like, I had to do better. So this stock, Turtle Beach, came along, and
HEAR,
I started shorting with $300 risk, and it blew through my risk by 40 cents. And immediately, I didn't want to cut it because I would have had to take slippage to a $600 loss.
Sure.
And I wasn't really prepared for that. I hadn't taken a loss like nearly that size. I'd cut $200-$300. I hadn't taken a $600 loss. So what I did was I added to my loser. And that was probably the worst possible thing I could have ever done, because now I have double the size, and it keeps going. So now I'm really losing control of my emotions, and I can't cut the loss. Like, I just can't physically do it. And
remember, just to, for the viewer, so this is a short position. So number one, never add to a loser on a short.
Rule number one for me.
Number two, now that he's doubled down, he's now losing as that stock continues to go up. He's losing at double the rate he was before he added. So now the emotions come in, and it's like, you're justifying, and you're into prayer mode at this point, probably. But.
Yep, into prayer mode. I was definitely praying. And then it basically, I started shorting at 11, and I added at 12. And then it went to 13, and 13 was the previous day's high.
Okay.
So I knew, this was ultimate risk,
Yep.
right? If it went over to 13, we don't know how high it can go.
Which is because that's where a lot of, especially long bias traders, they're like, okay, this is breaking previous day's high. Everybody knows everybody's short this. I believe there was outstanding warrants. There was a lot of short sellers trapped in this thing. So once it breaks that previous day high, you get a lot more longs that are coming in, and so that's your stop. Yeah.
So basically, I tripled down.
Even though you knew it was the wrong decision.
Even though I knew it was
Okay,
completely
all right, fair
wrong.
enough, fair
Tripled
enough.
down at 13, and it started to dip a little bit. Of course, off the first breakout test, it always dips a little bit.
Sure.
Started dipping, and I knew that I was holding really well. I knew that I had to cut it. And, I had my finger on the trigger. It was a $2,700 loss, right? Still not the end of the world.
Sure.
Could easily recover from that. And boom, right through. And I just walked out of the room. I was like, oh my God, I'm all in on this one. Whatever happens, happens. And, the stock just went full supernova to $19. And I was down 12 grand or something. And thank God, I came back, I went for a walk, I cooled my head, and I talked to Grittani. I hit him up in the challenge chat.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
What should I do here? I'm in a terrible spot. He was like, all right, you got to think of the situation analytically. So over $19, I have to cover, and I have to take the 12 grand loss. Or if it dips, then I'll just cover. So thankfully, the stock dipped to $15, and I covered for negative 7,000 and wiped out all my profits that I'd made over the last 4 months. So then I kind of took a step back because I saw how quickly south short selling could go, and I was way too convicted.
Right.
My conviction was way too high, and I never wanted to ever be in that kind of position ever again. And at this time, I started talking to Michael G. Scott and Profitly, otherwise known as Dom.
Yep.
And he was showing me his strategy, and he was up 30 grand, and he was going long OTCs. And I had kind of made my most money shorting OTCs. So I thought that, if I could learn to long the OTCs, since there would be more long opportunities than there is short, there's 1 to 2 OTC short opportunities per month.
Yep.
And I really just couldn't stay disciplined to only trade those.
That's a good point. I like that introspection, by the way. That he's making the point that, it actually, I talked to Michael Good earlier. Michael Good strategy is more to be that super patient guy and wait for those 1 to 2 a month. But I appreciate the fact that you're just like, hey, I'm just not that patient to wait around for those two. So.
So I started learning his OTC long setup, and I took some time off, and I was still working my valet throughout this whole entire time, and I was still, saving up money, paying bills or whatever.
I like that you keep that, especially when you're learning trading, man. If you've got some sort of at least consistent income, stick with it, especially in the learning phase, so that you can at least you can buy food,
really.
if you have a rough month,
and not have to worry about wiring money out of your account.
And taking money out of your trading account. Yep.
So I was learning from him, and then this was probably about August, I started trading again, and that's when CVSI, the day I started trading was when CVSI started the first breakout over $2.
Okay, yep.
And it ran for a month all the way to 9. So I got to watch that trade every single day, and I tried trading it, and I failed, but I made money here and there, but I would lose money. I think I still made money on the ticker, but not as much as I should have from what I know now. But then I went out and visited Dom, and I saw him make $7,000 in 2 weeks trading all the OTC weed stocks.
Okay.
And I had lost $500 while he made $7,000 and he was right next to me.
Right.
So I felt like an idiot. I was like, can I really do this? Like, he just made $7,000, he was right next to me, and I still lost $500.
Yep.
So, now I'm probably down like $1,000 or something overall, which is still not the end of the world.
No.
And
well,
then,
I mean, how far in are we here, roughly?
So all of 2017 studying, and now August of 2018. So we're a year and a half in.
And you're down $1,000. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, really,
it's not bad. And then I went home, and I just felt like I knew what to do. And from there, I made $2,500 the first week of September. And then the second week, I made $2,600. And the third week, I made $2,700. And then the fourth week, I made $2,400 or something. And it added up to $10,016.
Yep.
And I had my first $10,000 month, and I was super stoked. I was like, okay, I can really do this. And then October came along, and I made a little bit more. I made like $13,000, $14,000 or something. And just like that, I was up $25,000 on the year. And like, that's a decent amount of money for, 19 years old.
Oh, yeah, in 2 months of work.
In 2 months of work, yeah.
Sitting at a computer clicking a mouse.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then from there, November and December were kind of slow, but I still profited. Between those 2 months, I made another 5 figures, and I ended up the year up 30,000 something. And then from there came January, and January started off slow, and I had moved, sorry, to backtrack a little bit. At the end of October, I actually moved out to Michigan to get an office with Dom.
Yep.
Because he wanted someone to trade with, and my family wasn't really understanding what I was doing, and I was starting to get successful, and I really wanted to focus in and give it all that I had, because I'm only going to be 20 once, I'm only going to be 19 once, 21 once.
Yep.
And through that time, I kept developing, and then January came, and it started off slow, and Fannie Mae came along, and we started buying it with a 1 to 2 cent stop. So I took fairly big size. I think I had 12,500 shares with a 2 cent stop, was risking $250. And it was basically the perfect storm. It happened midday, which was kind of odd, but it broke the level that I was waiting for, and a PR comes out right after I get long. And market maker ARCA just locked up the bid and the ask, and nobody could fill, and people were just buying, and it was just going crazy. And I kind of just sat back, and I let the stock spike 80 cents.
Oh, wow, nice.
And then I locked in 7,500, $8,000 off $250 risk. And that kind of got the OTCs going for the month.
Yep.
And from there, it was just, I was pretty much green from that day on to the end of February, and I had locked in $65,000 in 6 weeks.
Jeez.
And then I crossed the 100K mark. At the last day of February, it was a panic dip by an SHMP. I knew the sector was dying and the OTCs were dying out. It was like one of the last opportunities on SHMP. Started panicking. It was around 30 cents or something, and I bought 100,000 shares at 32, flipped it at 35 or something, made $2 or $3,000, and that put me over 100K. And then from that time, the OTCs just completely cooled off. But NASDAQ stocks started to get hot in March, and it was kind of easy for me to make money on NASDAQs because, you know, I had a bunch of confidence and I felt like I knew what I was doing, so I just started trading NASDAQs, and I made, I think, 10 grand in March just because the market was still hot.
Right.
And it wasn't all off NASDAQ, but I think I made 5 grand on NASDAQ that month and then 5 grand on OTCs. And then, you know, April came along and that was my first red month. And, you know, I lost $800.
That's a good red month after that run.
Yeah.
You know, because what so many do is they have those good runs, they get overconfident, and you hear this story over and over again where they're like, man, I had this incredible 3, 4, 5, 6 month run, and then they give it all back in 1 month. So
because what I was really doing is I never was risking that much.
Right.
I was just adding into a bunch and they kept working. So if it came down and, you know, I was break even, I would just stop out because I don't want to lose money.
Yep.
And that's kind of my thought process always in trading is I've now adapted to Sykes' mentality where cut losses quickly.
Yep.
Not necessarily even cut losses intelligently. Like I like to risk off a key level, but if I don't like the stock, I'm out.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I think that's something so many newer traders run into is I don't know if you want to call it fall in love with a trade or whatever, and it's like they just want it to work so bad that it's just, I mean, something I talk about all the time. I mean, there's going to be another one later today. You know, there might be 2 later today. There's going to be 1 tomorrow, 1 next week. You don't have to fall in love with these trades.
Yeah, there's always going to be another opportunity, and I always have that in mind. So I never fall in love with any stock. I don't care about win percent at all. Like I win 50% of my trades, and I still make a good amount of money, you know what I mean?
Yep. And that's something I want everyone to focus on too, is in this niche, I mean, the win rate, you do not need an incredible win rate to be successful at this. If you keep those losses small, and then if you make those good trades and you focus on the consistent setups, you take those big wins and those small losses, you can have that 50% win rate and be successful in this niche. People people have these unrealistic expectations. Well, first of all, no one likes to lose. Mm-hmm. And then people think they think I got to win 90, 95%, or there's a lot of newer traders out there that think they got to win 100% of the time. You don't need a ridiculous win percentage.
No, basically I just focused on risk reward and throw win percent out the window because when I get too convicted, like something on HER, the stock was up from like $1 to 13, and I was like, there's no way this can keep going, you know?
Which proceeded to go, I mean, you were out by then, but it went to like the mid 30s or 40, yeah. So they can always go higher.
Can always go higher.
So what do you think, and this might be tough, but, we talked on the Steady Trade podcast a few months ago about one thing I greatly admire is your work ethic and your focus. Where do you think that came from? Did that come from the family, or did that just come from, again, I knew about the valet. I didn't know about the selling sheets at the mall. I mean, You've obviously got and I mean this in a good way, a hustle mindset, a get after it type mindset. Any idea where that came from? Or?
I mean, my dad, he is an electrician, and he's a very smart man. He's not very an emotional guy, and I feel like that's helped me throughout trading. My mom is, she was really good at sports growing up. Okay. She wasn't necessarily the smartest. I have her genes where I'm not that smart. Like I can't ace a test.
What's great about this niche, and this goes to you out there, listen, you don't need crazy education or you don't need to be some, I know the movies might convince you that you need to be this like crazy math whiz or something, but you don't need that in this niche, but go ahead. So.
I don't know. One of my friends, who got me into trading, he also had me read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay, yep.
And I didn't really read anything growing up. Like, reading all those books, I would just, fake read it through school, and I would just guess on the test and hope that I would get right. But this was the first book that I really sat down and, I was so into it, I couldn't stop reading it. It was like binge watching a show on Netflix. And I kind of saw, that mindset, and I kind of just wanted to go after it and didn't want to work for someone. And you only get one shot at life, so why am I going to sit around and not try to make the most of it? You know what I mean?
Love it.
So I keep going, I keep grinding. What I do in my free time is I like to play video games sometimes when I'm just relaxing. I don't really like to go out and party. I like to play sports. I like to play video games. And I had changed my name to Grind Days.
I like it.
And I felt like that just, I don't know. Just
no, I think
grind.
Yep,
That's it.
And that's we're very similar in that aspect. The way I've approached trading since I got started. I got started. I'm jealous of you being young. I got started when I had a family. I had a mortgage, I had a business, I had responsibilities through the roof. So I naturally came to trading very risk averse. Again, I'm like, listen, I don't care how much money I have, I'm not just gonna throw it away. I'm gonna focus on small losses and consistently repeatable setups. So it's like we have a similar style, but I mean, geez, I tell you, when I was your age, I probably wouldn't have traded like that. I probably would have just thrown stuff at the wall like most people do. So that's something I really respect, is that mindset you have and that work ethic you have.
Yeah, I think that the three kind of trades you should have is either a small wins or break even, small loss, and then a regular gain, and then once in a while you're just going to hit one right out of the park. And if you can just eliminate big losses, like your profit chart, it's just going to go up. It might go sideways for a little bit. It might have maybe a small little dip, but then it will rip up. And if I can just keep my losses small, I'd rather make $200, $300, lose 100, make 400, then you make $2,000, lose 1,800, make $3,000, lose 2,500. I don't want to go through the big swings because that would make me emotional. If I can get myself into a trade with no risk, those are my favorite trades where, I buy and it immediately starts spiking. Now I can risk my entry. And if you just let those trades work and let them really just spike, then you can potentially catch a big win, and that's what will really grow you.
Yep, and don't discount, if you're a newer trader, don't discount how quickly small gains add up.
Yeah, they really add up.
It's amazing. People I'll talk to people and they'll be like, oh, I only made $200 or I only made 300. I mean, you do that, 10 times a month, you made $3,000, and maybe you got a day job, maybe you're doing this part-time. You don't want $3,000, and you can do that $200-300 at a time, and that's real money. I mean, that adds up, especially over a year. I mean, that's $36,000 a year. That's real money. That can pay off your car, okay? That can take you on a vacation. So don't discount how quickly those small gains add up.
I still get happy over a $200-300 win. You know what I mean? I still get happy if it's a good trade.
So let's kind of wrap up on what is your, we get asked about this a lot, so I want to finish with this. What is a lot of newer traders will be like, what should I be looking for? So what is your favorite setup? Not that they should trade it, but, this Monday, what are you going to be looking for? What's your dream setup?
So could I finish from March to now and just kind of
sure yep sorry
how I'm gonna get back to my favorite setup and how I've kind of gotten off track trying new things and how I'm getting back on track right now.
Perfect. Yep.
So basically from April for my first red month to now I've struggled and I've just made a couple grand a month, back to when I first started in 2018. And it's basically because, I'm trying to do too much. I'm trying to long NASDAQ stocks. I'm trying to short NASDAQ stocks. And that's really just not my forte. That's not what I've made the most money doing. That's not what I feel the most comfortable with. That's not where I can achieve the highest risk reward for me. And what I'm getting back to right now is where I've made all my money, and that's through mostly OTC longs. And what I look for is a stock to have a morning spike and then go sideways throughout the day, proving that it's holding over VWAP. So, the buyer's in control, the sellers are not in control. And when it starts to perk up late day, I like to go long into that perk. And, if it's a stuff, I can just sell immediately because the consolidation is right there and you have a good level to risk off of. But if it starts to go, then maybe you can add into your winner a little bit and raise your risk up, and then if that closes up near its highs, you get a 5% gap, you get a 10% morning spike. Your risk reward is just so good buying that volume perk and then just adding in and having your risk tight, because a lot of people don't understand that your risk really isn't tested on these kind of late day plays when they start spiking, because it's not gonna spike up, break high a day, and then immediately dump back down under VWAP and then finish at the high a day.
Right.
It's usually going to be something really clean. And that's something that you can capitalize on, and those are my favorite setups. One of my other favorite setups is low price penny stock breakouts, because there's not a lot of competition there. And
now, what's low price to you?
Low price meaning 1 cent to 10 cents.
Okay.
And I can buy 200,000-300,000 shares and slowly average in 50,000 shares at a time as it keeps working for me. And those setups, I can make 2-3 cents and basically have a break-even stop too if it fails. And you can make 30, 40, 50% some of my best gains on those. And those have massive volume. There's no algo shorting those or anything. Right. It's just basically buyers going nuts.
Yep.
And I hop on the train of hype and I hop off when it starts to get too crazy.
So you mentioned kind of your goals heading here forward. Kind of what's the future for Jack? What's your plans?
I just want to keep trading and getting better and maybe travel a little bit more next year. I'm gonna go back home to Connecticut. With Dom, I was in the office for a year.
Yep.
I'm gonna go back to Connecticut for a little bit, and then might go out to California and Arizona to visit Huddie and Roland, and then I don't know, maybe go to Europe or something.
Nice.
And just be free next year and have home base be my home in Connecticut. Keep working at my trading and see if I can just keep those profits going. Maybe hit 250,000, 300,000 by the end of next year is probably my monetary goal for amount of money I want to make trading, and really just focus on having good trades and not blowing up, staying humble. That's it. Just keep the grind going,
Yep. And that's again, I mentioned it at the beginning. That's the biggest thing I respect out of you is your mindset. You're the furthest thing from a get-rich-quick guy I've ever seen. You just want to kind of refine and grind, and you're willing to put in that effort. And I think that's the biggest thing the viewer should take away from this is to have that mindset, because in my opinion, I don't want to get you too cocky, but you're almost guaranteed success if you keep that mindset.
Yeah.
That work ethic and that mindset is perfect for this niche, and if you just keep doing that,
slowly keep grinding up, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Not gunslinging, not going through these huge drawdowns and these huge upward spikes, Just keep slowly grinding it out, and I enjoy the process. That's why that's why I can keep doing it, because I like waking up in the morning. I like waiting for my stocks to set up. I like trading, and then I don't have to work or do anything, go to college and party and waste my life away doing a frat or anything. So just slowly keep grinding trading. That's
that passion, that passion is what you need. It's you just talk about those dark days and those red months, but you love it enough that you're willing to keep showing up even though it's bad. It's bad. But if you've got that passion and if you really want this and you stay at it, you can be successful over time. So. Well, thanks a lot, Jack. Again, nice to see you.
Yep,
thank you. And definitely check out the Steady Trade episode with Jack. We go into a little bit more of his background, and it was actually, I say it a lot, but it was probably one of my top 5 favorite episodes of the Steady Trade podcast. So
I appreciate
thanks a lot, man.
that. Thank you.
Thanks for watching our video. Be sure to comment below with any trading related question. We love answering your questions. Also, like and share with your friends, and be sure to subscribe to be notified as soon as our next video hits. And if you're looking to expand your trading knowledge, don't forget to check out all of our other videos, and be sure to click the trial below. Check out StocksToTrade. I think it is one of the best, most rapidly advancing softwares out there. Be sure to check out our trial.